the legalese fool you. This is epic. This is monumental. If things are going in the direction we think, Fani Willis lied to the court. It's game over for her. She will be disqualified. If they had a relationship prior to when they represented to the court, it's a huge deal. I can't overstate it.
And do you feel the same way, Charles, based on the testimony of what we just heard? And we just learned Nathan Wade, who is the special prosecutor in this case, walked in the courtroom. He is being sworn in to testify now about this issue and his relationship with Fani Willis. Let's listen.
Yeah, and it just went downhill from there. The woke activists over at MSNBC are admitting defeat. They're absolutely gnashing their teeth over the fact that the Georgia case against Trump is imploding right before their very eyes. We're going to see how they're not alone. The legal pundits out there are indeed admitting that Fani Willis appears to have turned out to be her own worst enemy. You're not going to want to miss this. Hey, gang, it's me, Dr. Steve, your Patriot Professor. I'm here because knowledge is your single most powerful weapon, and that's the weapon we wield on this channel every single day. So make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button, and let's dive right in. Fani Willis, the obnoxiously corrupt Fulton County DA who's prosecuting President Trump on absurd racketeering charges, was herself, of course, the object of prosecution. Late last week, Willis, along with her admitted lover, Nathan Wade, who Willis appointed as special prosecutor, both took the stand in their own defense as the court tried to determine as to whether Willis and Wade lied about when their affair started and as to whether Willis has been financially benefiting from the prosecution. Now, needless to say, the overall legal opinion was the whole thing was an abject disaster for Willis and for the weaponized legalism that's deliberately trying to interfere in the 2024 election. It was so disastrous that Tennessee Congressman Tim Burchett had to tweet out, "I feel like the person who let Fani Willis take the stand is the same person who told Joe Biden it was okay to give a press conference." Vivek Ramaswamy said it more soberly, yet beautifully, as he always does. The Fani Willis testimony last week allowed ordinary Americans to see with their own eyes what they could have never imagined about our justice system. If these are the kinds of crap prosecutors attempting to take down a former U.S. president, just imagine what the system can do to you. And that's so key here. I think that's exactly what we all saw last Thursday and Friday. These are DAs and prosecutors who are obviously not in the court system because of their merits or their virtues. They're there because the system itself is so radically, and I mean radically, rotten and corrupt. And of course, I'm implicating the voters who would actually stoop so low, whose standards are so pathetically stilted and compromised that they would actually put into office this kind of repulsiveness that Fani Willis embodies. Here's Kash Patel on the insanity of the Fulton County's DA's office.
And quite frankly, let's just put the seriousness up front, because we can be comedic about this all we want. As a former prosecutor and defense attorney, the fact that we are watching this unfold, not on Jerry Springer, but on national TV in a prosecution of the presidency of the United States, this has been a degradation of the judicial system for a decade, if not more. That she has been allowed to conceal improper activity and conduct, to include money going her way from the taxpayers, all the while prosecuting the very target of her campaign funding source, shows you the depravity and intentions at which she brought this prosecution, which is completely baseless. And I got to give the judge credit on this one down here. He was magnanimous. There would have been a million times where I would have lost it, either as defense counsel or the other, or someone in his seat. And I think and I hope that in order to the benefit of justice, because there is no other decision here than to remove her not only from the case and throw it out, but have her and Wade and Willis disbarred immediately from ever doing this type of conduct again.
Gang, if you're a regular to this channel, then you know we're all about building the future now by creating a parallel economy dedicated to faith, family, and freedom. And ironically, we can actually build that economy by learning how to use the corruption, the very corruption of our ruling political class against them. And you know exactly what I'm talking about. Politicians like Nancy Pelosi, they've been getting insider trading secrets for decades now, enabling their returns to beat the market every single year. But thanks to a little-known SEC database, guess what? We can have access to those very same trading secrets that these politicians are privy to. We get to see what stocks corporate CEOs are buying up in real time, and then we get to piggyback on their trades to gain the same advantage for ourselves that Pelosi and the crooks in D.C. have. My friend Ross Givens has been tracking insider trading for years now, and his recommendations have led to investment returns of over 200%. Some have hit as high as nearly 1,500%. And now it's your turn. Click on that link below right now and learn how you too can learn to trade like Pelosi. Click on that link and learn how to gain an insider advantage for yourself today.
If the romantic relationship between Mr. Wade and Ms. Willis began before he was hired by her in Fulton County, then the affidavit that he submitted might be false. And not only would that affidavit be false, Caddy, Ms. Willis propounded that affidavit, provided that affidavit to the court in support of her contention that the relationship started subsequently. By the way, at any point, and I was a prosecutor for a long time, if a supervisor is having a relationship with a subordinate, regardless of when it starts, that's reason for the subordinate or the supervisor to step away from the case. So in some ways, to me, it doesn't really matter when it started, but if it started before she hired him, you might have false affidavits in this case. And that, if I may, Caddy, raises a separate point. Even if the defendants fail to show an actual conflict of interest, and they may very well fail, an appearance of a conflict of an interest is also a problem. And as prosecutors, you have to be sensitive to the appearance. So even if the legal motion fails and the judge doesn't disqualify Ms. Willis or Mr. Wade from the case, you still have an appearance, and that's messy.
That, again, is an MSNBC panel recognizing the seemingly inevitable that Fani Willis and her boy toy are on their way out. The key here at MSNBC, as this guest pointed out, those who are charging Willis with unethical behavior don't actually have to prove that she or Wade lied to the court when the affair began, or even prove that she financially benefited from the prosecution by paying Wade an inordinate sum of money, and then the two of them went off on all these luxurious vacations together. They don't even have to prove all that. They don't have to prove actual wrongdoing for both Willis and Wade to be removed from the case. The very fact that they are having or were having an affair, which they both admitted to, is enough. That admission alone constitutes grounds for removal or resignation. And the irony, the lesson in all of this, is that corruption ultimately ends up destroying the corrupt. This is actually a key and deep theological insight, particularly in the Christian tradition. The first victim of corruption is the one who's corrupt. The first victim, indeed, of any kind of evil is the perpetrator himself. This is the real tragedy, and I mean that in the ancient Greek sense of the term. This is the real tragedy that's behind what we're seeing here. It's not simply the fact that these corrupt, nefarious forces are trying to bring President Trump down. That's bad enough. It's the fact that their own corruption is only ultimately going to bring them and the whole corrupt legal system down. Corruption ultimately destroys the corrupt. In trying to corrode others, they end up ultimately corroding themselves. And that's exactly what I think we're seeing here. No matter what happens, even if Fani Willis stays on as DA, and even if she successfully prosecutes Trump, she's already lost. She's already been exposed to be the disreputable partisan hack that those of us who've been following the charade for the last several months recognized immediately. Now the whole world sees it. And she only has herself to blame.
But first, gang, as many of you know, we have unfortunately been completely and totally demonetized, which is putting our daily communication with one another at risk like never before. Now, we are actively working on getting this resolved, but as things stand, This channel has, without any warning, been totally and completely demonetized. And as Elon Musk said so powerfully last week, the whole point of these demonetization efforts is to deliberately try to make us patriots feel like we're all alone. They want to sever our relationship with each other and force on us a kind of digital solitary confinement so as to demoralize us and discourage us like never before. But to their horror, it's not working. Over this past week, you have carried this channel like never before. We've had more people than ever make the courageous decision to bypass big tech and join our Insiders Club. We have direct access to one another that can never be interrupted by big tech overlords. Over the last 7 days, we've seen literally thousands of you come to our rescue. And you've done it in two ways. You've signed up for our free newsletter and you've officially joined our Insiders Club. Those two acts alone are enough for us to collectively stand together and never, ever have our relationship severed. So I'm inviting the rest of you to do the same today, just by clicking on that link below and signing up for our newsletter and joining our Insiders Club. You are guaranteeing that there is nothing that big tech can do to get between us and make us feel like we're in a digital solitary confinement. It's as simple as clicking on the link below right now and opting into our free email newsletter. And once you do that, you can financially support us by joining our Insiders Club. Gang, from the bottom of my heart, I cannot thank you enough for your support during a time like this. You are my heroes, and it will be my mission to express my appreciation for every single one of you each and every week.